Hello everybody, this is Martin again, and today I've got a really quick tip about how you can install Bosh on vSphere using thin provision disks. It occurred to me that whenever I install Bosh on my vCenter server, my personal lab, that Bosh likes to take up a whole lot of space. It's a bit greedy. This, of course, is expected behavior because Bosh is enterprise software. You're going to use it to deploy stuff on your enterprise, and we've got a lot of storage there, right? So that should not be a problem. Thing is, though, with my home lab, I only have about 500 gigs of storage, SSD storage, and a bunch more of old-fashioned, slow physical disk storage. As you can see right here, I have a total capacity of 465 gigabytes, and a normal Bosh installation takes up at least 100 of that by doing absolutely nothing but just having a Bosh director. So I figured, you know what, I will install a Bosh director the old-fashioned way using the default CPI that is provided to us by Bosh. And I will install one using the global configuration setting that you can set in your CPI, your cloud provider interface, that specifies the default disk type. Now this is specific to VMware vSphere, but I found it by browsing to the bosh.io documentation. And it says right here with vSphere CPI that if you go to disk types, and you go to global configuration, it says right here that you can set the default disk type to be either thin, pre-allocated. So it defaults to pre-allocated, which I believe in VMware terms translates to thick, eager zeroed, right? And I don't want that because I don't have a lot of disk space. So here we go. I deployed two Bosh directors. I'll show you on the command line interface. I'm using Tmux, by the way, to do this split screen magic. Environment, Bosh thick, Bosh thin. See, there we go. And they're pretty much the same, using a different IP address, different little range, but basically they've been installed in exactly the same way. Big difference is that for one, I used the default CPI, and for the other, I added this little line right here. Default disk type is thin. That is the only difference between these two installations. So if we check them out on my vSphere installation, here is my Bosh thick, and here's my Bosh thin. If we click on thick, summary, total storage used 124 gigabytes. All right, that's quite a lot, right? Here's a couple of stem cells. Here's the VMs. Now, if we look at Bosh thin, total storage used 13 gigabytes. That is quite the savings, right? Now, I'm not trying to tell you to use this in your enterprise environment or your customer site, but if you're going to, play around on your lab environment and you want to install, I don't know, say the container runtime or something like that, this really does make a big difference. It helps out a real lot. I made a little overview right here. Here's all the different storage that the two installations take up. The director VM takes up 110 gigabytes using the default installation. Takes up only 7.9, say 8 gigabytes when using thin provision disks. The director stem cell is 3 gigabytes straight off the bat, 1.2 using thin provision. The Ubuntu stem cell, same story, 3 gigabytes thick, 1.2 gigabytes thin. I did a deployment, by the way. I deployed a Minecraft release. I wrote that, so I'm biased, obviously. In the thick provisioned way, that takes up 8 gigabytes of space. So that's just one VM with just some Java on there and Minecraft, and that takes up 8.3 gigs, whereas the thin provision one takes up 3. You can see right here the difference it makes. Like, this is the 124 total, somewhere around there, And here's my thin provisioned one. And most of the space is being taken up by the Bosh director. I mean, you know, for some people 110 gigs is not that much. For me it is. So I'll provide a link to the Bosh.io documentation where I got this from, and I'll write something down, you know, concerning the CPI.yaml that I've used. And I highly suggest you use this for your lab environment. All right. That was all. Thank you for watching, and see you next time.